Happy Indigenous Day to all y'all folks out there. I want to talk about a misconception that a lot of people have, and that's the migration. Now, when people talk about the migration of the indigenous people coming to America, they only treat it like it's just one stock of Asians coming through. When in actuality, it says right there in NBC News, Skull sheds new light on migration to America. Now, this is talking about the Lucia skull, right? Which said to have like Austronesian features or Negroid features, right? Now, peep this. It says South American skull suggests that two different populations crossed from over Asia to the New World, about 3,000 years apart. Now, you wonder who are them two groups? Now, these are my personal notes right here. So you got the early primitive skulls that's up over here, that is Negro or Austronesian, right? Which is both so-called blacks and so-called Hispanics. Now, if you pay attention right here, this is from the book of James Adair. And it's really depicting how the indigenous people, how there's like three different groups, okay? And this right here, it talks about how the northern Indians that's from like Canada, like upper Canada, Alaska, so on and so forth, how they came much later on, okay? Anthropologist Carlos Cuervo Marquez was saying that this whole continent was a Negro continent in its earlier stages, okay? And you see Samuel George Morton, okay? He even right here speak about how the Eskimo is something completely different from the Indians all around the Americas, okay? Alice Herlicker in his book Melanesians and Australians and People of the Americas, he cross-referenced something that happened back then in the 1700s of the Zuni tribe, okay? There was a dark-skinned person and there was a fair-complexioned person. The fair-complexioned person was saying that the dark-skinned person in the tribe was much earlier inside the Americas than him, okay? So even inside the tribes, they knew. So when you have so-called black people proclaiming to be indigenous to the Americas and rejecting, calling themselves Africans because African Americans ain't African, then you will understand how tribal we are to this continent of the Americas, and this should be understood. Rather, instead of being politically correct, we should be historically correct. So my case rest.